Welcome back to If You Know, You Know, a podcast bringing you all things City of Roanoke. I'm your host, Carol Corbin. In Roanoke, today I have three really awesome guests for you. Kicking things off, we'll be talking with Brandon Meginley from Economic Development, who may or may not have the secret to financial success. Then, Vice Mayor Joe Cobb joins us on the podcast for a really great conversation about listening and building relationships in the community. And bringing us home is Molly Hagan from Play Roanoke. You don't want to miss out on what Parks and Recreation has coming up this summer, and Molly's here to make sure you don't. We are going to kick things off by talking with Brandon Meginley from Economic Development, who may or may not have the secret to being financially stable in these tough times. Brandon, welcome to the podcast. Can you let our listeners know a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sure. Good morning, Carol. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm Brandon Meginley. As you stated, I am a financial stability specialist with the city's economic development department, and I am in Roanoke now for going on 7 years. And before that, I hailed from the Philadelphia area. So I'm excited to continue to be here and be part of the city's work.
Our producer in the room today is a very big Philly fan. Thank you, RVTV.
Okay, very good.
So, yep, shout out Eagles. Okay, but back to Roanoke. So, Brandon, first things first, you've only been in Roanoke for 7 years. That does not seem possible because Brandon and I used to work together a very long time ago. It feels like 10 years ago. So when you said 7, I had a little brain glitch going on. We both came from the Department of Social Services. That was really only 7 years ago?
Right. So I started at the Department of Social Services in March of 2016, I want to say. I had also become a supervisor there, and then this job appeared, if you will, on the job board for a financial stability specialist at the Economic Development Department. And I'm happy to get more into what that role is.
Yeah, and so right pre-COVID, you transferred over right before the world shut down.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Which, at that point, even more so than ever, having a sense of being financially stable and having a sense of how to manage your money became even more important to people in that time of uncertainty.
That's right. Yeah. So what the financial stability specialist position does is, so since I'm the only person to have had this title and this position for the city, what I do is I was primarily taken on board to facilitate and launch a financial empowerment center and to coordinate and manage the day-to-day activities of another coalition called Bank on Roanoke Valley. So those are my two main charges and have continued to be. It's one of, at this time, about 30 to 40 financial empowerment centers across the country. They're municipally driven in partnership with the local nonprofit financial counseling centers. And so they have certified, trained professional financial counselors who can help people get into a different or better place financially. And that can be things like trying to work on improving their credit score, reducing debt, increasing their savings, or what is often that first step, which is to get a safe, affordable mainstream bank or credit union account. And so the city of Roanoke received a grant in late 2019 to implement a FEC, as we call it for short, in partnership with Freedom First Enterprises, to provide this financial counseling as a no-cost government service to anyone in the Roanoke area who feels that they could avail themselves of it and get something out of that.
That's really great. I mean, only 30 or 40 in the country. That really puts Roanoke sort of on the forefront of really sort of bringing the power back to the individual or family level for their own finances. I really think that that's a great thing that the city's able to offer. That's pretty cool that you've gotten to sort of define what this role is going to be to some sort, being the first person who's in it. And so part of that role being the Financial Empowerment Center. If you've only been in this role since early 2020, how long has the Financial Empowerment Center been around in the Roanoke Valley?
Shortly thereafter, it launched in the summer of 2020. So we're actually
hit the ground running.
Yeah, exactly. We hit the ground running. And we're actually, this summer basically is our 3rd year anniversary for the Roanoke Financial Empowerment Center. So it's really been great to celebrate that.
Yeah.
Just a milestone in its continued success across the community.
Let's talk about continued success. So last year was my first year working in communications and community engagement. And one of the things that I saw when I was sort of going through our yearly achievements was the Financial Empowerment Center had hit $1 million in debt reduced for the area. What sort of success can we call upon the Financial Empowerment Center? What is the Valley seen from?
Yeah, great question. So we have this Financial Empowerment Center counselors. In terms of the numbers that we like to highlight and celebrate, we've seen $1.75 million in debt reduced now, and nearly $250,000 in accumulated savings. And this means that people who are working with financial counselors are seeing these successes in their personal financial situation, and the counselors
your
are
success
able
is
to
their success.
track their success.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that is exactly right. That in fact, we were out the other day, myself and the FEC manager, whose name is Catherine, and we were presenting at the rescue mission. And she said exactly that. Their counselors, the numbers are impressive and important. At the same time, something that the stories that the numbers don't always tell are just those personal experiences that the clients have had with their FEC counselors, and I get the impression that the counselors really are invested in the success of the folks that they are serving. They want to be able to help them get to that first home, for example, and for example, improve their credit so that they can afford a lower cost loan. They really do desire to get to that place, because the counselors have, talking about money is very personal, and it's that's why this private one-on-one model is really effective, I think, in helping people get from point A to point B. We've had clients in 3 years who have had over 10 sessions. We've had a few who I think might have even had over 15 by now. So some clients or folks who work with counselors just stick with it over time. They see a lot of value out of it. And people have reported that their counselors just feel like someone they can really talk to, and that they can trust them to help them to whatever goals that they might have. And I think the numbers therefore have sort of borne that out.
Well, and the numbers are mind-blowing. 1.75 million debt reduced, 250,000 in savings. I mean, those numbers are the ones that blow your mind. But as you said, it's those personal stories of kind of hearing about the family who does get to buy a house, or the individuals who do get to increase their credit rating, and now they can purchase a car and no longer have to rely on public transportation, which, shout out public transportation. 3rd Street Station just opened and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks great.
It's really great. But being able to have that autonomy of having your own vehicle is pretty amazing. I think that those are the stories that sort of pull at the heart and really get to why it's important that the Financial Empowerment Center's there, is those individual stories.
Right, and it's open to anyone who's 18 years of age or older, regardless of their income, and so the FEC can serve anybody. And one of the ideas behind the financial stability work that I do, including the work with Bank on Roanoke Valley, which provides the more like classroom style education in a group setting, and its main focus is really on the banking and the credit union piece, in which, because we know how important it is to have that credit union or banking account as that first step towards savings, for example. Folks can spend over the course of a lifetime, they say, about $40,000 on payday lender interest and fees to get your own money from check cashing, and there are banks and credit unions in our community that offer very low cost, minimal fee type of accounts that are a benefit to folks who want to access them. But through all of that is part of a larger kind of framework of having it so that Roanokeers live in a community where they can get all the support they need, from just that basic financial security, the roof over the head, the food, the shelter, the medical assistance, up to more of like a financial stability space, which is that, banking relationship, credit that's good enough to maybe secure lower cost loans, enough savings so that if you have an unexpected emergency, you can weather that without having to go into debt. And then, and then eventually, the goal is for everyone to have financial wellness and wealth so that they can thrive and just go beyond meeting their basic needs through high-paid living wage jobs and through the ability to save for retirement, so that there is this continuum from start to finish, cradle to grave, if you will, where as much as possible people are financially stable and successful and thriving.
Fantastic. And so I know we've talked a lot about the Financial Empowerment Center, and you've mentioned Bank on Roanoke Valley. How would somebody sort of get involved with the Bank on Roanoke Valley program or find out about when that's available?
Yeah, so Bank on Roanoke Valley currently offers twice annual 6-month-long series. We call it Bank on Wellness, and it's a classroom series.
Okay.
And so generally about a month or 6 weeks in advance of the next series, we'll start to promote it. Bank On is a coalition of banks, credit unions, nonprofits, and city government. And so we'll generally, as a coalition, start to get the word out, and I'll usually try to spread the word on Facebook and through media appearances that Bank on Wellness series is happening. The next one is being offered in the fall. It generally starts in September. So the short answer is contact me. I don't know if you'll be providing my personal information for the or my office line and my email, but you're welcome to, so that I can get you on a list of people to contact once the next series opens up for applicants to participate in. And what that is 6 months where once a month in the evenings we gather as a group and learn about financial topics like debt, credit, setting smart goals, banking, and retirement. And then class participants are able to receive incentives for participating in the program and reaching certain goals as well.
Something that I heard you talk about throughout this interview, both with Bank On and with the FEC, is the importance of having a bank account or a credit account and really probably knowing how to understand what that means and how to navigate having that account. It's not just, I have one open and it has the $5 in it to keep it open, really knowing what it can do for you.
Yes, that's right. And also the Financial Empowerment Center counselors are really great at that. In fact, that's one of their many responsibilities and roles, is to not only help folks get set up with a bank account in our region, but also to help them to use it to understand, what they need to do to ensure that they're not, getting a fee each month. And then also how to use bank and savings accounts to help build savings. And so the counselors do that. And yes, through Bank on Roanoke Valley, that I would say that's part of the education, is at least the basics of banking. But also, I know I do as much as possible remind folks to contact their bank or credit union, regardless of how long you've had an account, whether you're just setting it up or if you've had it for 20 years, and ask them, do I have to maintain a minimum balance each month? Is there any way to avoid any type of fee at all? What does the overdraft structure look like? And ask these types of questions so that you feel empowered to know, how to avoid having to spend any money to get your money. And I would say most banks now have ways to do so. And then it's all value at that point, because, however, wherever interest rates are at, ultimately, you're keeping your money in a savings account, for example, you'll earn at least a little bit of interest on it. And so that's obviously better than spending money to get your money, is to have your money stored someplace that's safe and FDIC insured and accruing interest.
Well, and knowledge is definitely power. I like how you said that it was empowering you to know more about your money, because some people wouldn't even know the questions to ask.
Ultimately, you're in a better situation if it's the same reason, we encourage folks to read those terms before they get a new credit card, for example.
Brandon, I'm going to ask you the question that I forgot to ask Mark last week. So
okay,
putting
do my best.
you on the spot, you
Okay.
are speaking for your entire department.
Okay. Okay.
It is a
Sounds
burning
good.
question. It is
I'm
what
sweating.
the people want to know.
Okay, what is it?
Is it economic development or economic development?
I go economic development.
Economic development. I don't know.
But as you get more of us in to interview, you should survey all of us, and I guess majority will win
Take
the
a
day.
poll. We might
Right.
even need to get the community involved in this. Well, Brandon, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with today? Do you have any tips or anything that can, really let them know how to take those initial empowerment steps themselves?
Yeah, sure. So I always like to just remind folks, if they haven't already heard of it, and every opportunity is a good way to, like this, is a good way to get the word out. But if you are somebody who just wants a trusted counselor to speak with you about your goals, whatever they may be, your financial goals, maybe it's a living situation change, maybe it's saving for retirement, maybe it's just trying to get an emergency fund together so that you don't have to be concerned about that next unexpected expenses, to connect with the Roanoke Financial Empowerment Center and set up a one-on-one financial counseling appointment. Folks can go to roanokefec.org to read a little bit more about the program and set up an appointment. Again, the Roanoke Financial Empowerment Center is a City of Roanoke program in partnership with Freedom First Enterprises. It's available to anyone in the Roanoke Valley. You don't have to be a member of Freedom First Credit Union, and you can just avail yourself of this service. And as long as, like I mentioned, you're 18 years of age or older. And it's a really great place to build a relationship with someone who will advocate for your own financial success. I can't sing the praises of the counselors enough. They've been doing a really excellent job, and their manager is awesome, and that is really cool, I think, for a city to have that in place.
That's fantastic. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us
You're
today. I look forward to when we get to have you back.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Carol. This is really fun. I'm glad you're doing this.
Our next guest on If You Know, You Know needs no introduction, but he's going to get one. Joe Cobb has served on Roanoke City Council since 2018. He was previously the executive director at Family Promise of Greater Roanoke and former pastor of the Metropolitan Community Church. He's co-authored Our Family Outing, a memoir of coming out and coming through. He is currently the chaplain at Hermitage Roanoke. In his time on council, he has served twice as vice mayor, first from 2018 to 2020, and is currently serving as vice mayor since January of this year. Vice Mayor Cobb is vice chair of the Personnel and Audit Committees and member of the Legislative Committee. He is president for the Greater Roanoke Transit Company Board. He is chair for the Council of Community Services Board of Directors and the City of Roanoke Gun Violence Prevention Commission board member. Without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Vice Mayor Joe Cobb.
Good morning.
Good morning. I will say, from a community engagement standpoint, every event I'm at, I see you there. Is this one of your favorite parts of being on council, being able to be a part of all of the great things happening around Roanoke?
It truly is. I love our city. I love the energy in our city. I love the creativity of our citizens, and whenever I can be present at an event, it's really important. I think that citizens love to see their local elected officials at events, whether it's a ribbon cutting, whether it's a birthday party, whether it's a family grieving the loss of a loved one, whether it's a festival. It's also a wonderful way to talk with people and meet them where they are. There isn't an event that goes by that somebody comes up and asks me a question about something or shares a concern. I recently was at a block party, and a resident I hadn't met before but knew me said, "I want you to have fun today, so if you can give me your number, I will call you next week, but I want you to have fun today." And I thought that was very thoughtful of the person.
Thoughtful. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't even think of that, because I know, again, almost every event I'm at, I see you there. I see many members of council there. But obviously so many people are vying to talk to you because you're there, you're present, and they have an ability to let you know about their concerns, let you know about things that they want to see. And I think that having that one-on-one and being a part of the community would be a really special thing in your position.
I think that we all appreciate having someone who's willing to be present and to listen. It may not mean that what we're concerned about or the idea we have is going to happen immediately, but having that value of being listened to and acknowledged is really important, particularly in today's world. And so I value that. And I also value that when I'm listening and then offer conversation back, that the other person is listening. So I think restoring and re-energizing those types of relationships are really critical in general.
When residents of Roanoke come up to you, whether it's at an event or after a council meeting, what are things that they are bringing to you? What are the main things that are sort of on our residents' minds that they are coming to you about right now?
Oh, a lot of things. It can range from, like this morning, I had someone reach out frustrated that about a parking issue on a public street. And in Roanoke, of course, we have a lot of on-street parking. And so people kind of figuring out, where can I park, where can I not park, but realizing that it's open street parking, especially residentially. Sometimes it's the typical, hey, I was driving down this street and I saw a pothole. So it's a great way for me to introduce them to the iRoanoke service, where they can actually,
Yes.
Send in a service request. And it's another way for me to work through city management to connect city staff with residents who may need extra assistance. Sometimes it's an idea for a small business, or right now we're talking a lot about the overall plan for Evans Spring, Fishburne Park, and in and through all of that, what I see is a lot of people who care about green space in our community, who value the parks that we have, but who also value the environment of creating a friendly space for entrepreneurs, for people who want to start businesses, for communities who want to support them. And sometimes there's a synergy around that, sometimes there's a tension. And I think as a city council member, I have to be willing to live with that tension, because it's there all the time. But I like to refer to it as a creative tension, not an awful tension. There may be, and always are, multiple and diverse voices giving energy to that tension. But within that tension, there is a creative solution and resolution. And I think it's incumbent upon me as a city council member, us as a council, working with staff and with residents, to find that creative energy within the tension to move us forward as a city.
I love that metaphor of the creative tension, because sometimes it's very obvious and you feel like you can almost see it in the air, but I feel like it's always probably a low-level hum that you're always trying to balance what's best for all of these different groups and all of these different ideals, almost like our green space, but also our economy and also our livability, and you try to do the best you can to satisfy them all, knowing that you can't give 100% to all of them.
Yeah, and it's also about intersectionality, and I'm not just talking about intersections on streets, which is part of our infrastructure, but part of our social infrastructure is this intersectionality, because there are so many things that converge in these places of creative tension. And I think it's important to give weight to each of those things and see how they can work with each other instead of against each other.
Do you feel like your role as a pastor has helped you in seeing the intersectionality and seeing where that creative tension lies?
I definitely think the skills that I've learned as a clergy contribute to that. I think in my doctoral work that I'm engaged in now and in the final stages of, I've certainly learned more about intersectionality, not only from a theological point of view, but really from a human engagement point of view, that all of us have very complex lives. It's not appropriate to say to someone, well, you've only had this part of a lived experience. All of us have extraordinary lives, even if we might describe them as simple lives. And so acknowledging that complexity within us is important. Acknowledging the complex history of Roanoke is important. And so many people are learning more about the intersections of reality in our city, and that's helping us become a healthier city. Those conversations are very difficult, but they're very important. And so taking the time and making the time to share in those kinds of relational conversations is critical to our growth as a city going forward.
I would like to talk briefly about the role of vice mayor. You are now currently serving in this role for the second time. Can you tell our listeners how the role of vice mayor is determined in the city of Roanoke?
Sure. So every time there is a city council election, and that occurs every 2 years, there are 3 seats open for city council. And it varies in terms of the number of people that run for those open seats. Whoever receives the highest number of votes in that general election for city council seats for the 4-year terms becomes the vice mayor for the next 2 years. So it's based on that popular vote in the city council election.
As vice mayor, what are the duties that come along with that role?
One of the main duties is that if for some reason the mayor is not able to preside over a city council meeting, then the vice mayor presides. Sometimes you'll see in a meeting that the mayor may need to leave partway through a meeting for a special engagement, and I will just slide right into that role and continue the meeting. But that's the primary role that I have as vice mayor. There are often occasions where the mayor and I are asked to attend meetings as the mayor and vice mayor, and we'll do that together. Sometimes the mayor will ask me to attend a meeting on his behalf or representing council, and so I'll do that as well. But the vice mayor, I think, always needs to be ready to step into that leadership role, whatever the circumstances may be.
When we're talking about Roanoke City Council, we have the role of mayor, we have the role of vice mayor, and then we have our council members. But all of you, your vote counts the same. In saying that, there's no what's the word I'm looking for, benefit, so to speak, of being a mayor or being a vice mayor or just being someone on council. You're all looked at equally when it comes time to make decisions.
Yes, I mean, each of us have a vote, and because we are all elected at large in the city, we represent the city as a whole. And going back to when you were asking me why it's so important to show up and be present in all parts of the city at events, that's a perfect reason. Wherever someone lives in the city, I want them to feel as though I am accessible, that we as council members are accessible, to be present for them and with them, and to respond as effectively and quickly as we can to issues that come up, to connect them with the resources that they need. But all of that is a part of being informed as fully as we can be when we're making decisions and thinking about, though this thing that we're voting on may be located in one part of the city, it has an impact on the city as a whole. And so while we may be prioritizing something within a part of the city, by prioritizing that, we're saying, hey, this is also an important factor or an important decision for our city as a whole. So we have to keep that kind of that small picture and the big picture in mind at the same time.
You have to be on the dance floor and the balcony.
Right.
Both.
Right.
Which is why I think, in my personal opinion, it's so important to see a council that we have now that is so diverse, because we get to fully see the entire city represented on that council. I think that that is very important. How do you feel about having a council that is as diverse as this one is?
I think it reflects the beauty of our city. One of the things that's impressed me about Roanoke since I moved here 22 years ago is the multicultural diversity of our city, whether it's people that come from so many different nationalities, I think over 110 at last count, to that diversity of the color of our skin, diversity of language, of lived experiences, of sexual orientation and gender identity. I mean, all of those things are important, and they're part of the fabric of who we are as a city. And so making sure that, a child who's looking at their leadership can say, hey, I see myself there. I see that this is something I could run for and maybe be elected to when I get older. And if we feel like we're missing a voice or not hearing a voice, then I think it's important for us to know that and to take time to center some of those voices so that we can hear them more clearly and more loudly, so that we are not missing an important part of our community that may be marginalized. And I think that this council is really good at listening to those kind of voices that are on the perimeter and making sure they know the pathways that are available to center their voices, whether that's coming to a city council meeting or writing a letter or sending an email or scheduling a meeting with one of the council members or the mayor.
And I think that that's so important, especially for children, to see not only the see it be it moment of, oh, they're like me and I could do this too, but also, oh, somebody who's making decisions for this city looks like me, comes from the area of the city I come from. They are here to make sure I'm okay. And I think, especially from a young person's perspective, being able to feel that the people in charge are here for you is a really important thing, and really important to keep them connected and engaged with our local leadership as they get older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true. And I've heard, through the years that while people are glad during election cycles for people to show up on their doorstep and talk with them, it means even more when they keep showing up in their neighborhood, when they keep engaging. And that's called relationship. And you can't build a relationship if you just see somebody one time. That relationship has to be built over time. And I think that each of us on council have an understanding of that and a value for that.
Well, and that probably also builds into how you get the information that you receive when you're trying to make decisions or vote on items, is not only the information on the paper or the report or the PowerPoint that comes to you, but also those relationships that you have with the community and hearing those lived experiences and trying to ascertain how is this, one thing that we're looking at going to affect all of those people that I'm here to represent.
Yes, I agree with that. And the other thing I would add to that is that oftentimes in reports that we get, we're getting facts, we're getting data, we're getting, if we look at it this way, this might happen. If we look at it this way, this might happen. But I think the really important thing is to remember the humanity. Remember how these decisions impact and influence relationships with each other. And sometimes the human story is absent when you're just looking at data, because you're trying to get somewhere with that data, but you can very easily overlook the humanity and the human story that's within that. And that's where the real transformation takes place. And I see this really profoundly when we're talking about reducing, for example, gun violence in our community. All of us want to see the data that shows that incidents are declining, that crime is declining. And that's important to be able to see. Along with that, we need to be able to hear the stories of people whose lives have been changed because someone has taken the time to invest in them. And because of that investment, that person's pathway has changed. And so from a path that might have led to violence previously, it is no longer leading to violence because of that, the intersection of those people who learn to care for each other. And sometimes I think that gets lost in our drive for data. So I'm always advocating for a both and when we're working on these tough issues, because that's ultimately where we see the change taking place, is in the humanity of people and in the human fabric of community.
You don't even know this, but you've just created a theme for this entire podcast, because we just got finished speaking with Brandon Meginley, who works with the Financial Empowerment Center. And he said the exact same thing about financial empowerment, how the numbers are great, saying that we've been able to reduce debt and save money is, the mind-blowing statistics. But the thing that's important is the family that got to raise their credit score and purchase a home, or the individual who is no longer in debt and is not suffering from mental health, issues because they can't get afloat. So unknowingly, you have created a theme, because yes, the story is not the numbers. The story is the people in Roanoke.
Yeah, that's right.
So this conversation has not gotten all the way I intended, but has been so much better than I intended it to be. And we are almost running out of time. So I want to ask you if there's anything that you want to leave our listeners with before I have a couple fun questions.
Well, first of all, I will say that it's an incredible honor to serve as vice mayor and on city council. This wasn't something that I imagined when I moved to Roanoke, because I was a stranger here. I didn't know what my life in Roanoke would be like, and it's been more than I could have ever imagined. And I'm really thankful for that. So to the citizens of our city, thank you for this honor, and thank you for letting me listen into and be a part of your lives.
It's hard to imagine you as a stranger. It is hard. You feel woven into that fabric. So we appreciate having you here as well. A couple of fun questions to end the interview. These are hard hitting, so please prepare yourself. Fun bow ties or fun socks?
Both.
One or the other. You have to pick.
Bow ties, then.
There you go.
Always more visible.
Sunny day on the Greenway or rainy day at the Grandin Theater?
Ooh, that's tough. I love both, but I will go with a sunny day on the Greenway.
9 a.m. council sessions or 7 p.m. council sessions?
9 a.m. My energy's fresher then.
Bicycle or scooter?
Bicycle.
Do you appreciate indoor events or outdoor events?
Ooh, that's a mixed bag. Lots of variables.
Lots of variables.
I do love outdoor events.
Okay. And finally, we're going to take it to the top of Mill Mountain. Are we going to go Mill Mountain Zoo or Mill Mountain Star?
Both iconic. I love our Mill Mountain Zoo.
Yay. Unexpected. I love the unexpected answer. Well, Councilmember Cobb, Vice Mayor Cobb, thank you so much for being with us today on If You Know, You Know. We appreciate having you.
Thank you so much.
Our final guest this month on If You Know, You Know is one of the first people that I worked with when I joined the community engagement team. She is the marketing coordinator for one of our most fun departments in the city. Listeners to the podcast, let's get to know Molly Hagan.
Hi, Carol. Good morning.
Good morning. Molly, can you introduce yourself to our podcast community?
Yeah, I work for Play Roanoke, also Roanoke Parks and Recreation. It's a really fun position to be in. I get to talk about all the wonderful things that our community parks and recreation department does.
Perfect. And so with Parks and Recreation, so explain Play Roanoke to me, because that's not, I mean, obviously you can take that leap to Parks and Recreation, but it is a little different.
Yeah, by branding ourselves as Play Roanoke, we can kind of incorporate a little bit of everything we do. You know, we have park staff who work on our playgrounds and our athletic fields, and those are helping children and families play in a way. And then we also have a recreation side that does programming, and it takes people kayaking, or it leads art programs and community recreation things. We also manage our pools, all types of ways to play. So we do a lot of different things, but all of it kind of centers around play.
And really goes into that sort of vision for the department where you want to be the reason people choose Roanoke. You want to build that welcoming community through play. You really want to get people outside.
Exactly.
Now, Molly, if you had to choose, would you go parks or would you go recreation? Which side are you going?
Oh man, that's really tough. I have a background in some sort in programming, so I would probably fit best with recreation, I would say. I love outdoor play, outdoor recreation, kayaking, backpacking, things like that. But the park side is really fun too, because their jobs get them outside pretty much every day. So it's a toss-up for sure.
So everybody hears that first. Molly is clearly on the recreation side. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So yeah, I kind of see it as like to take it back maybe to our older listeners, like the Sharks and the Jets. Like I feel like, you know, there's like a backroom thing where the parks crews are like, you know, we're better, and the recreation crews are like, no, we're better. But that's in my head. That probably doesn't happen at all.
There's a handful that get to work really closely with both sides, which is really nice. And I'm one of them, which is great. Yeah.
And so before we get to the reason why you're here today, can you kind of let the listeners know, like, how long have you been with Roanoke and what type of things do you do in your role?
Yeah, I started just about a little over a year ago. So I've been in this role for about a year. I was with the department a little bit before that in a different role, but I do a lot of different things, some of which are really public facing. So I manage our social media. Follow us at Play Roanoke on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I run our website and do blogging. I share press releases. I schedule, community input meetings when we have those for all the projects that we've got going on. And yeah, I do a lot of both behind the scenes and front facing stuff. So I'll talk to the news and you, which is fun.
Yay, you're here with me today. And so, yeah, you're really here to kind of get the community engaged with everything Parks and Recreation, which is fun because your department is so in the public. I mean, if you haven't been a part of our programming, like you've walked down the Greenway, you've driven past a park. It's everywhere.
Exactly.
How many, because we have, is it over 50 or over 60?
It's over 60, yeah.
Parks.
Yeah, it's over 60 parks. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. And then we have, I think, 5 greenways. We have over 100 miles of trail and greenway in the city, which includes Mill Mountain Trails, Carvin's Cove Trails, all of our greenways throughout the city of Roanoke. So we manage a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I think, did I read somewhere that even for our size, we have top 5 in the country, area of parks.
Yeah.
A lot of that's Carvin's Cove, but
yeah, it's true. We do have a proportionally higher number of parks for a city our size, which is really great. It's really wonderful. All of our citizens live pretty close to a park, so that's really nice. And then, yeah, of course, the greenways help connect neighborhoods to those parks.
Can you give us any inside information? When are we opening that last segment of Greenway?
Oh, I do have great information on that. Yeah, so it's the Bridge the Gap section. We have a ribbon cutting at the end of July, which is very exciting. Yes. It's a highly anticipated section. And while it finishes the section that connects the Roanoke River Greenway all the way to Salem, We do have a tiny section on the other end that's yet to complete, but once that is done, it will complete every piece of the Roanoke River Greenway within the city of Roanoke, which is hugely exciting. We're definitely looking forward to it. And of course, the section going just all the way to Salem is really cool.
That is really awesome. And so how long is that section of Greenway once that connection is there? I think I've heard 13 miles, but I might be just making that up because it's a half marathon.
That sounds right. I don't have it on the top of my head, but that does sound about right.
Yeah. I was like, it's double-digit miles. It's amazing. And anybody who lives near the Greenway or near to a connection, I mean, you could almost make the commute from Salem to Roanoke on the Greenway.
Oh, yeah. You absolutely could. Yeah. And of course, it's great for the city of Roanoke, but it's really good regionally because we can connect the greenways further into the county and into the city of Salem. And so it's going to be a really nice section when our piece is done. And then we look forward to even more of the other greenways getting complete too. We have a lot of work going on with Tinker Creek Greenway right now. So yeah, it's exciting, and the greenways are always very popular.
It just struck me when you're like, we have a lot of work going on with Tinker Creek Greenway. I'm like, no, you have a lot of work going on everywhere.
That's true.
Just to let everybody inside to the relationship that Molly and I have, sometimes I'm like, it's not a day if I haven't been on the phone with Molly at least 5 times. Like, there's so much going on, and Parks and Recreation has so much going on always, which is great. That leads us into why we're here today. Yeah. So July next month is National Parks and Recreation Month.
That's right. We're so excited.
And so what kind of things can we expect from Parks and Recreation coming up in July?
Yeah, so we've got a lot going on. Generally in the summer, our parks are going to be busier regardless, but we also have a lot of free programs coming out. So the recreation side, as we were talking about earlier, has planned a lot of different things to get people outside to, be free as opposed to a paid program. And to get, families engaged and kind of to spread the word on what we do. We're kicking off July 2nd. We've got our Freedom Festival, which is where we have a really fun Independence Day festivities planned in River's Edge Park. Everyone knows the fireworks for the 4th of July, but we also have a free festival that'll be going on that day starting around 5 with bounce houses, inflatables, some free music by 5 Points Music Sanctuary. So it's going to be a really fun time.
That'll be great. You caught me at free. So there's a lot of free stuff going on in July. Can you kind of take us through some of that programming that, our residents might be able to take advantage of?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got, so again, we kick off on the 2nd, but we've got a lot of other things. We have 2 free camps that are going on. We've got a few of them this summer, but 2 in July, in partnership with Box Fit and Hoop Love to get kids, middle school age kids, active. So this is a really great opportunity. We've also got a flotilla, which is it's with Roanoke Outside. We've done it for a number of years. Last year's was huge, and we're hoping this year's is just as big. It's basically where you get a tube or a float of some sort. There's a lot of fun ideas.
Unicorns
a
and
massive
rubber ducks.
Floating unicorn, whatever you can get yourself on that floats. And it's just a huge community float down the Roanoke River, so that's always fun.
Where does that embark launch? Like, where do you get in?
It launches from basically Wiley Drive in the Messina area. So a lot of people will rent a tube from Roanoke Mountain Adventures if they don't have their own.
Gotcha.
I recommend you do that early if you are planning on coming. And yeah, it goes all the way to Star Hill. So
perfect.
So it's a nice
great
little
place
float.
to get out
and
have a good time after.
And then, we've also got a handful of other things. Like I mentioned, we have a ribbon cutting for the Greenway that's coming up. That'll be a fun event. We've also got a Mad Libs Live show, which is with Mill Mountain Theater. That's going to take place on the Elmwood stage on July 9th. And we've got all of this stuff is on our website at playroanoke.com/July. So it's a really convenient way to see all the things we've got going on. There's a little more than we can go over here, but
well, and I'm sure there's more than just the free opportunities.
Exactly.
I'm sure you have regular programming going on as well.
Exactly. Yeah, we've got stuff all the time.
And so even if you aren't looking to get out and do an official, program or event or festival or class. I mean, I'm going through my head of all the things that Parks and Rec does. But you could honestly just go to one of our parks or take a walk on the Greenway. Because I'm putting you on the spot here a lot throughout this entire interview. If you had to pick a park, what's your favorite park and why?
Well, I will say, and this has been true the whole time I've lived in Roanoke, my favorite park is the one that's closest to me. It's my neighborhood park. It's one I can visit every day. I walk my dog in the morning, and it's always nice to be able to either pop on a greenway or walk through a park. And so that's changed throughout my time in Roanoke. But currently I'm really a big fan of Shrine Hill Park and Murray Run Greenway.
I love Murray Hill Greenway. That's the best.
Beautiful.
That's like the one place in Roanoke where obviously maybe everybody who does Mill Mountain don't, come for me. But I feel like on the Murray Run Trail, like I can get on there and it's like I'm not in Roanoke anymore.
Exactly.
It's just a nice mile and a half where I feel like I'm not even in the city.
Exactly. Yeah. You can feel really remote even though you're, Patrick Henry High School and
Right.
houses are right there.
Right. And then coming out on the other side to Fishburne Park. So yeah,
exactly.
that's super great. I forgot how much I love that too. Yeah. And that's the thing with Parks and Rec, with all of the parks that we have in our city, there are pockets throughout the entire city where you're almost somewhere new just by entering the park. It's fantastic. And so, of course, we have Elmwood, and that's where we're having all of our big events, concerts, and there's the ice skating in the winter. So there's lots of good things happening
and
there.
Go Fest in October.
Go Fest in October. Shout out. Is it going to be downtown again this year?
It is, yeah.
That's great. No, I don't know. I'll tell you, I was on the fence personally because I loved when Go Fest was over in that River's Edge area.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just because how it started and I'm a creature of habit. But being able to have it downtown was so great, even for people who maybe you don't typically see as being individuals who go outside, because it makes it a little easier for them to get around and to go from place to place.
The accessibility is a lot different from place to place, for sure.
And then it also allows you to kind of bring in, so you have those parks, you have Elmwood Park in downtown, you have access to greenways, but then you also have the streets and to make it more festival-like in that way.
Yeah,
that's
it's
great.
Very, very city, urban to mountains.
Yeah. What is the new phrase? Metro Mountain.
Metro Mountain.
We are a Metro Mountain town. And Parks and Recreation has so much to do with that. And so with National Parks and Recreation Month and all of the free programming that we have coming during that month, what do you think if our listeners had to do one thing, if you had to pick one thing that you're just like, yes, if you're going to do something, do that. What should they do?
Ooh, that's a hard call. I will say there's going to be so many options that are fit different interests. The Mill Mountain performance on Elmwood Stage is great for families, for kids. If you're a real, get out in the sun, it's summer. Flotilla is really up your alley, I would say. The Freedom Festival is going to be good for everyone who doesn't love watching fireworks in the city and, listening to free music. But I would say if you could do one thing, I would say find the thing that you're most interested in, whether it is just going to a park or making a routine.
That's why she's in marketing and communications, folks. It's all going to be great.
The idea is to offer something for everyone, because we do really we have a lot of options.
Yeah. No, I really like that. I think I'm really interested in Flotilla. I haven't done it before, but it just seems so, it's fun, but it seems out there. Like you get to be kind of goofy.
It's very unique. It's a really unique thing, and it's super fun. If you've never floated the river before, it's a great way to do it too, because you're with a whole bunch of people. So it's super, super, it's a good community.
Well, and with the rain that we're getting right now, you won't have to worry about like dragging
the
bottom
up. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's the worst. Oh my gosh.
And maybe come see that low water bridge before it's gone, since we know that we're now going to be able to replace it. Yeah.
Is there any news on that? Do we know when that's? Obviously the news is that we're going to replace it,
but
right now,
your
no
guess is as good as mine. Yeah. Gotcha. I haven't heard any updates, but yeah, we do imagine it'll happen quickly, and we'll definitely be sharing news when we have it.
Well, and that's going to be really exciting, because then there's not the, hop out of the river, walk around the bridge, launch back on the other side. That's going to be great.
And all the rain that has closed Wiley Drive Bridge today, it'll be less of a problem in the future, which we're really looking forward to that.
Well, and it looks like rain all week. So I would imagine that part of the Greenway and that bridge is going to be closed all week.
Yeah, most likely.
And, shout out to our parks crews who get out there after every big rain and they, clean all of that debris off the bridge. Both the sort of litter and trash, but also just the debris from, natural
like
sticks and rocks and limbs.
Sometimes big logs. Yeah, it's a group effort, it's not just parks crews, but stormwater,
also
transportation.
Stormwater.
It takes a village for that one, because it's a huge job cleaning it up. And so we really do appreciate, I know that Greenway in particular is very heavily used, that section. So it's really important when those gates are closed, not going around them. It really does. It's not only is it a safety hazard for users, but it does slow down the work to reopen the Greenway. So when you see them closed, just find another way to go.
Well, and that's a very, unique place on the Greenway because you have the actual pedestrian cyclist traffic on one side, but you also have vehicular traffic on the other. And obviously those gates will definitely keep the cars out, but
they can't, they can keep the cars out pretty effectively. That's true.
Well, and that particular section, like if you're in Smith Park, Lord forbid, I'm knocking on wood, everyone. I don't know that you can hear it. But if something happened and you were at Smith Park and those bridges were closed because, they're underwater, I don't know how rescue crews are even getting in there. That's a really scary situation. So we definitely want to, I know sometimes it looks like, oh, the water's down, everything's good, but better safe than sorry.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so is there anything else fun on the horizon with Parks and Recreation? I know the thing I want to talk about, and I feel like you probably won't, I'm springing it on you, so you're going to be like, why are you making me talk about this? But the in-river kayak park, since we're talking so much about the river, I know that that's a really big thing that's getting ready to come. And is there anything upcoming, even beyond the summer that we can plan for on that?
I don't have a specific date or timeline, but we probably will be scheduling a community meeting, a time to talk to everyone about it. I don't know when that's going to be, but we do think it'll happen this summer. So hopefully I'll have news for that pretty soon. Yes. We do want to share updates on that and talk to the community about it. So that'll probably be pretty soon. It is also very highly anticipated, like you said.
Yes. And I really appreciate that, especially I would say in the past year or so, and maybe it's just because that's the time frame that I've been in community engagement, but Parks and Recreation really wants to tap into the community and see what people want and what features work best for them. You're scheduling ongoing community engagement for so many of your big projects.
We are,
and even outside of big projects, is there a way for people to reach out to you guys if they, have something that maybe isn't Eureka Recreation Center or Washington Park or the In-River Kayak Park? If somebody's just like, hey, I've got an idea or this would be kind of cool, like, could they reach out to you guys?
Yeah, we have a contact form on our website. So just playroanoke.com and then go to contact us. That's a great way to reach out, and it'll go to the appropriate person depending on what the question or suggestion is.
Awesome. Yeah. Please check out our website and check out playroanoke.com. Also, follow along on social media. You can follow Play Roanoke on Facebook, Instagram. You can follow the city of Roanoke on those platforms too. We appreciate it. Molly, is there anything else that you have for us today?
Just keep an eye, like you said, on social media. We're also going to be doing some giveaways and things like that.
Wait,
so as
record
updates.
Scratch. Giveaways, what?
Yeah. We're working on getting some new merch. So we have like t-shirts and things in the work. And so once we have more info on that, we'll be scheduling some giveaways throughout the summer. They may be pretty informal or like pop-up things at parks.
Cool.
But keep an eye on, our social media would be the best way to keep an eye on when that's happening.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being
Carol.
with us today, and I really appreciate it. Everybody, July is National Parks and Recreation Month. Please check out our website, see all of the fun and free activities we have, and stay tuned because beyond July, we're doing stuff all the time.
That's right. Yeah, summer's busy, but fall is too.
Fall is too. Roanoke, thank you for tuning in to If You Know, You Know. I hope you enjoyed learning more about our city and the people who are behind the scenes. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow along with us each month because remember, if you know, you know.